Okay, when you picture a cheetah, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Speed, right? I mean, this animal is literally the icon of acceleration, just a golden blur flashing across the savannah. But here's a thought. What if that incredible gift, that very speed, is also its biggest weakness, its greatest curse? Yeah, let's get into it. Because that's the real paradox we're going to unpack here. I mean, think about it. How can a creature that seems so perfectly, so exquisitely evolved for the hunt, be living on such a razor's edge? We're not just talking about long-term conservation here, but it's actual minute-to-minute survival. All right, so first things first, let's just take a moment to appreciate the sheer engineering genius here. A cheetah isn't just fast. No, it's a masterpiece of biological design. Literally every single piece of its body has been fine-tuned for one thing and one thing only: explosive, mind-blowing acceleration. Get this. 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds. 3 seconds. That's right up there with a high-end supercar. And we're not just talking about top speed here. This is all about achieving that insane velocity almost instantly, just so it can close the distance on some of the quickest prey animals on the entire planet. So how in the world does it do that? Well, a huge part of the secret is actually in its back. The cheetah's spine is just unbelievably long and flexible. It bunches up, coiling tight, and then, bam! It extends like a massive spring. This is what propels it forward, letting it take these huge strides. We're talking up to 22 feet in a single bound. Just imagine that. And then you've got its claws. Now, most big cats can pull their claws all the way in, right? Not the cheetah. Theirs are semi-retractable, which means they're always out just a little bit. And they act just like the cleats on a football player's shoe or the spikes on a sprinter's. They dig right into the ground, giving it that insane grip it needs for the launch and, maybe even more importantly, for taking those crazy sharp turns at full speed. Okay, and don't forget the tail. That thing is definitely not just for show. It's this long, muscular rudder that works as a perfect counterbalance. So when a gazelle suddenly zigs, the cheetah can whip its tail the other way to zag, allowing it to pivot with almost surgical precision, all while it's basically flying. And the list of high-tech gear just keeps going. It's got an oversized heart and enormous lungs that act like a supercharged engine, just pumping oxygen into its muscles. You know those famous black tear marks running down its face? They're not just for looks. They're like built-in sunglasses, cutting the glare from the harsh sun. And of course, that beautiful spotted coat, that's the perfect camouflage for sneaking up on prey in the grasslands. So, okay, we've established it's the perfect sprinter. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. Because what's so fascinating is that in a lot of really important ways, the cheetah is not like the other quote-unquote big cats at all. And this is where things start to get a little complicated. You see, in the cat family, there's this fundamental divide. You can either roar or you can purr. You can't do both. Lions, tigers, jaguars, they all have a special ligament in their voice box that lets them produce that terrifying, deep roar. But cheetahs? They have a solid, bony structure in there, pretty much the same setup as your pet cat at home. And what that means is they just can't roar. Yeah, instead of that big, intimidating roar, cheetahs make sounds that, well, they honestly sound more like a bird. They make these high-pitched chirps to talk to their cubs. They'll hiss when they feel threatened. And yep, they purr. Just like your little house cat, they purr to calm themselves down or to show their content. It's a totally different way of communicating. So that leads us to a really important question, right? If these animals are so specialized, so unique, so perfectly built, why on earth are their lives just filled with constant, crippling stress? And this gets us right to the heart of the cheetah's paradox. For all of that incredible speed and grace, the cheetah is an animal that lives a life of almost unbearable anxiety. And ironically, its own physical design, the very thing that makes it so fast, is a big part of the problem. In fact, get this, cheetahs are so naturally shy and high-strung that in captivity, zookeepers have come up with this amazing solution. They give them emotional support puppies. It's true. The calm, cool confidence of a dog actually helps to soothe the cheetah's nerves. It gives them a sense of security that, believe it or not, they just don't have on their own. And if you want to know why they're so anxious, well, look at this number, 50%. That's how often a cheetah has its meals stolen from it. I mean, just picture it. After that all-out, lung-busting sprints to make a kill, up to half the time, a bigger, stronger predator like a lion or a bunch of hyenas just strolls in and takes it away. All that work for nothing. And this really sums it up perfectly. That sleek, lightweight body, the one that's built for incredible speed, well, it means the cheetah just doesn't have the muscle or the weight to defend itself or its food. It's a simple, brutal calculation. It cannot win a fight against a lion. It stands no chance against a clan of hyenas, so its only option is to run. It's built for flight, not for a fight.
Now, all this constant pressure and stress, it makes raising a family an almost impossible mission. The fight for a cheetah cub just to see its first birthday is honestly one of the toughest stories in the entire animal kingdom.
When cheetah cubs are born, they are completely and utterly helpless. We're talking blind, weighing only about 10 ounces. Just incredibly vulnerable. They do have one amazing trick up their sleeve, though. They're born with this fluffy, silvery mane on their backs that makes them look a bit like a honey badger, and if you know anything about honey badgers, you know they are not to be messed with. On top of that, the mother has to move her cubs to a new den every few days, just to keep their scent from giving away their location. But even with all these clever strategies, the odds are just heartbreaking. Only 5%. Just 1 in 20 cheetah cubs will make it to adulthood, and the vast majority aren't even killed for food. They're killed by lions and hyenas, who just see them as future competition that needs to be taken off the board. It is a truly devastating survival rate. And as you can imagine, all these individual struggles, they add up to a massive crisis for the entire species. The cheetah is no longer just racing against gazelles. Now it's locked in a desperate race against extinction itself. I mean, just take a look at these numbers. 100 years ago, there were more than 100,000 cheetahs roaming across Africa and Asia. Today, fewer than 7,100 are left in the wild. That's not a decline, it's a catastrophic collapse, and it's being driven by threats that not even the fastest animal on Earth can outrun. So what are these new threats? Well, the biggest one is habitat loss. Over 90% of their historic home is just gone. And that's forcing them into more and more conflict with people. But it's not all bad news. There is hope. Conservationists are coming up with some really creative solutions, like building huge wildlife corridors so different groups of cheetahs can connect. And remember the dogs? They're training special livestock guarding dogs that don't hurt the cheetahs but just scare them away from farms. It's a genius way to help humans and cheetahs live side by side. And all this leaves us with one final big question. For millions of years, the cheetah's entire existence was defined by one race, the race against its prey. But now it's in a totally new kind of race, a race against disappearing habitats, against human conflict, a race against time itself. And really, the question for its future isn't about how fast the cheetah can run anymore. It's about whether we are willing to help clear the path for it to survive.